Hi, I'm Maureen Calamia, and I'm so excited that you're joining me today in Finding Your Purpose in Dreams. This is workshop number 1, and it is part of a series. This is a free introduction, though, and I'm really excited to start just jumping into it. But first, I just wanted to share a little bit about myself. I'm a feng shui practitioner, and I founded the school Luminous Spaces Feng Shui, which offers courses in feng shui, earth energy healing, and more mindfulness topics, as well as biophilic design. I'm also a dreamer, and I have had dreams kind of weave in and out of my life. But it wasn't until my late 30s that I finally started taking them more seriously. And that's when everything changed. So what happened in my late 30s is I went through one of those, I guess, dark nights of the soul, where there was just lots of things going on in my life that wasn't going the way that I wanted them to. They weren't the way I planned it, but those are special periods of our life that we need a little bit of distance in order to see what that time of our life really was bringing us to and shaping our lives to be in a different way and moving in a different path. And dreams were such an integral part of that process. So I decided to do this series now because I have been such a follower of my dreams. And I realized that not everybody is. And there are certain people that really want to learn how to focus on their dreams and how to harness the messages from their dreams to go forward in their lives. So I decided to kind of share a little bit of my process and how I do it, and hopefully it will resonate with you. So in this first class, we'll talk about what is spiritual dreaming, which in essence is what's going to tell you about your life's purpose. What are some signs of spiritual dreams? We'll talk about why dreams are so important to me. And then I'll go through some tips on how to remember your dreams and how to do some journaling for your dreams. Great. So let's just dive in. So what is spiritual dreaming? So they are dreams that are divinely inspired. They help you find your life's purpose, discover your authentic self, which is a process I believe we're going through our entire lives, discovering who we are. And they're also, what we're meant to, they uncover what we're meant to do in this lifetime. It helps you understand perhaps a detour that you need to make in your life, or sometimes it confirms the path you're on or negates the path you're on and helps kind of bring you back. And most importantly, I think dreams can point out our shadow side, the parts of ourselves that we don't want to deal with and that we're actually projecting onto other people. Can be very interesting, what we can learn from those dreams, how we're actually being in relationship with other people, with our careers or different aspects of our life, with our health, everything. So what are some signs of spiritual dreams? So the first thing I look at is the backdrop of the dream. Spiritual dreams often happen outdoors, not always, but it's a very common thing that it's outside. So sunny, vibrant colors, perhaps being in beautiful, clear water, or they could be places like mountains, places that are kind of high, or we could, symbolic of mountains is kind of climbing stairs, might be something to that effect of an elevator, that type of thing. However, can also be about going down. So more shamanic dreams are about going into the earth, but also recognizing that it's also potentially our subconscious that we're going into, which is very spiritual and shamanic as well. So it can get to that shadow side, what is buried underneath that we're not willing to see. But it could also be just shamanic, where it's connecting with the earthly spirits. Another thing that is a clear indicator of a spiritual dream for me is deceased loved ones in the dream. So let me just share. And throughout this course, if you decide to join us, I'll be sharing dreams like this to illustrate. So I'm just going to share a little bit about what was my first big dream. And that was in my late 30s. It was a huge leap in awareness. My mother had passed from cancer. And right after, I had a number of dreams where she would come and I knew she was dead, and I would hug her and just cry. And they were really important stages of processing my grief. But about 6 months after, I had a dream. It was very different, but my mother came into my home and the feeling was different. Like, I knew she was dead, but yet I was joyful that she was there. And it was a beautiful conversation, like, hey, so good to see you. Thank you for coming, hugging her and just sitting and chatting like a normal waking life experience. And in that dream, I also, it was an epic dream. So I also had the backdrop of being in a white stairwell where I was walking up, going through layers, kind of symbolically connecting with the divine. Then I was in Penn Station in New York City, where I've commuted a good part of my adult life, waking life through. But in this dream, it was all white and it was very busy and frenetic, like Penn Station is. But again, it was kind of symbolizing a divine space as well. And then I was in an airplane in an airport, and those are also connected with symbolic of connecting to divine, heavenly type of energy. So this dream was just like this major, I could write a book about it, all the different stages of the dream and what happened. It was really amazing. And it stuck out to me, and it was very important. So that really started my process of committing to dreams. And I'll go into more about kind of what happened after that, but that really was an impetus for me to really pay attention and focus on my dream world. Okay, so deceased loved ones. Next are some symbols in dreams. So, I mean, I talked a little bit about some symbols like planes, elevators, mountains, things like that, but also a door or portal in some aspect is definitely symbolic of you connecting with an otherworldly message. Also, beings like angels or otherworldly type beings, things like rainbows, again, sunlight. These are all indicators of a divine dream, potentially. So I had an experience where there was this kind of door, and it was in a between stages of waking and sleeping. It's in these between stages that we're not fully asleep, we're not fully awake, that really magic can occur. And it's often where these visions come in. And this vision, although visions are usually an image that's kind of like burned in your eyesight, in your head, this was sound and feeling. So a door just slammed right here, and I felt it so much. I felt the wind on my face. I heard the sound of the door slam, and it startled me, and it fully woke me up. And I knew it was an important message. But what was it meaning? It wasn't until the next day, when I actually had a scheduled phone call with a spiritual mentor, that things started unfolding. During that conversation, in connection with that visual or image. And I suddenly made a huge career decision at that moment. I realized I needed to make. I literally stood up while I was on the phone and went, oh my gosh, like, yes, this has to happen now. So it was a huge impetus in my career. Really very grateful for that experience. Another thing, which I've kind of been saying all along, is your emotions, your feeling in the dream. Spiritual dreams, you just know there's something important going on there. It often touches us very deeply, and at the same time can be very peaceful. It's kind of like we're in our space, like we know what we need to do. And I'll share just this little bit of an experience of a dream that I had with me and my son, going through some challenging decisions as a parent, what to do. And in the dream was just this warm glow all around us. It was warm and cozy, just the two of us. And when I awoke, I knew what I needed to do. And even more than that, it felt so right and peaceful within me. I was so sure after that experience in the dream that what I thought I needed to do was exactly what I needed to do. So it was a great confirmation, really important. Sometimes in spiritual dreams, you're aware of a profound presence or awareness, perhaps an urging. And I've been kind of saying that all along here too. There is this urging, this impetus to do something very specific. And it feels like it's coming through you. It's an acknowledgement of this divine message. So those are some of the signs of spiritual dreams. I'm sure we could add more to the list, and you probably have some yourself. The next question is, why are dreams so important to me? Well, I think I've been kind of saying all along some of my examples. It's been such an amazing guide. I have turned to psychics. I am very interested in astrology and what astrology is telling me, what my purpose is, and helping me refine my path. But dreams are another layer that is coming from within. I mean, astrology is too, but often there's an interpreter, right? There's an astrologer telling you what your chart's saying. And if you don't know enough about astrology, you're really reliant on that person and their interpretation. So there's kind of like that medium between you and the divine. Psychic, same thing. They're interpreting what they're hearing to you. And I'm not discounting that. And I still consult astrologers and psychics. But I also know quite a bit about astrology, so I can read it for myself. But dreams are from you. They're deep from your soul or from your higher self, from your spirit guides, from an angel connection that you have, or maybe you are connected with ETs, or it could be from nudgings from a loved one that had passed to help you. And I do believe very much in that as well. So it's from all the above, of course, from God, which is this divine source, which all of this is from. It has helped me so much discover my life's purpose, change me so tremendously. I was in a marketing career for 20 years, loved it so much. But I got to a point in my life where it was just sucking the energy out of me. I hated getting up in the morning and going to my job. And I knew it needed to end. And I just did not know what to do. And I'm not going to say that it was a sudden light bulb and I was given the path of feng shui and it opened it up. No, it was a kind of encrypted messages that was gently nudging me in a direction. It took a few years for me to figure it out and to follow synchronicity, to follow all the different nudgings throughout in my waking life and dreaming life that brought me to the path of feng shui. But even when I got to the path of feng shui, I knew that wasn't it. I knew it was part of the journey. And although I'm a feng shui practitioner, I believe I'll do feng shui for the rest of my life. Perhaps not. I certainly teach it. And I plan on teaching it for the rest of my life, but perhaps not. I'm not sure. But it's led me to all these things that I love. Working with the earth, working with mindfulness, helping others open up their connection to nature. All of this came in my dreams over a period of time and using the other tools, like I said, of synchronicity, of meeting the right people, of being introduced to topics and so on. So it's part of the process, but so important. And it's helped me with extremely challenging situations in my life, in relationships. Amazing, amazing. Has transformed the way I look at myself in relationship with another. And I'm tremendously grateful and humbled for that knowledge. And it continues to help. So the next thing I wanted to cover was, how can I remember my dreams? This is probably the most common thing I hear from people is either I don't dream, or I know I dream, but I just can't remember my dreams. So this is definitely a challenge. But one of the things I learned way back 20 years ago, when I started really focusing on my dreams, was that before you go to sleep, say, I will remember my dreams. So if you can tonight, state that with certainty, I will remember my dreams tonight. Chances are you'll remember something, and that's a gift. Don't get discouraged if you don't, just do it again the next night. But if you do remember, try to have a pen and paper next to your bed. You could scribble down just a couple of key words. You don't have to write the whole dream. A couple of key words, maybe a name for the dream. Like one of my first dream, after doing this dream workshop with a friend who 20 years ago opened me to take this seriously. My first dream was called Waterfall. And that waterfall dream is so much more meaningful now as I reflect on it 20 years later, because it basically opened up the floodgates to my dream world. I can look at, when I was like 38, 39, my life before and my life after is incredibly different, not just from a spiritual perspective, but from all the information I've gleaned, career, family, relationships, all of that. My life is so different. So it was like this waterfall of energy. So name it, maybe something very specific that you can think of, or like I said, just jot down a few words of major symbols or action or person perhaps in the dream. Upon waking, at some point, if you can reflect and write, or even, talk into your phone, do it audio if you're driving to work, or just try to carve out some time to reflect and write about your dream. And I do really recommend journaling. So let's talk about this daily practice of journaling. Whenever you do remember a dream or even a fragment of a dream, journaling is really important to write down as much as you can remember. If it was sunny, if it was outdoors, if it was sunny, put that in there. If it was nighttime, put that in there. If it was cloudy, if there was an approaching storm, this is all, like, the weather is really important. Time of day, if all sorts of information that you can write about the dream. Just write it all down. Title it when you have time, but at least date it. And I write in a regular notebook. I don't have special, beautiful journals. Some people like that. I just write in a regular spiral-bound notebook that's lined. That's my process. I do highly recommend that at the back of the notebook, you create an index. So you could put the date, the name of your dream. When you have time to reflect on the dream, well, hold on. Before you reflect on the dream, as you're actually writing it out, sometimes the process of coming up with the words to describe a particular scene or a symbol, sometimes it's like, you get the meaning right away when you start thinking about it, to just write the right words. Sometimes you don't. It's okay. Just keep going and writing it. And then I go back and reread it. And I highlight, like, important parts, like if it was dark out, or if there was sun, or if there was a red car that I was driving, red car, very symbolic. Maybe that you were traveling down a narrow path, I would highlight that. And just kind of highlighting a specific person, maybe that you encounter, I would highlight that. If there were any words that were actually said, it's interesting. I know for me, and I know for many dreamers, there's very little words ever in a dream. It's more of like this mental communication. So if you're like me and there's actually words said, those words are really important. Highlight them. I had a dream last night, and in the dream, I yelled, "Stop." Well, that's super important for that dream, and I still need to decipher my messages from that. But there's clearly a message of stopping something. And then think about some of those symbols and what they could be saying about your life. Maybe there's a symbol that's actually in your life at the time. If you had a symbol of a red car, and you do have a red car, well, that's about your car. At least part of it is about your car. We're going to talk about interpreting and that process in future classes. What's important is you're focusing your attention on your dream world. And when you do that, more dreams will come to you. You are opening a portal. You are opening the floodgates. Just like with anything in our lives, like when you're more aware of synchronicities in your life, they start to come more often. You get messages more often, and it's the same with our dream world. If you think about dreams, sleep represents maybe about a third of our life. And if we neglect that, we're missing out on a whole third of our life. There are many cultures, indigenous cultures of the world, that believe that the dream world is just as important in our lives, in our growth, in our purpose, as our waking life. Things that happen in the dream life are just as important as if it happened in a waking life. Think of that. You're getting to this point in your spiritual growth, your spiritual evolution, where you can start seeing that. And that is just such a gift. Such a gift. So, in the process of interpreting your dreams, if you're getting a clear message on something to do or something not to do, it's important to follow that advice. If it feels right to you, if it feels right, because again, it's all about feeling. If that decision or that movement going towards something new or moving yourself away from something or setting out on a new course, it has to feel right with your authentic self. And if it does align with that feeling, that is when you must act. If you need confirmation, you can ask for another dream to give you more confirmation, or it doesn't have to be a dream, it could be waking life. What I've found over the years is this fluidness of images between waking and dreaming life. And I'll share that with you as well. Incredible. I will share more of my personal dreams that have led me to do things that were absolutely important for me to do. And I will just share just how this process shifts and grows. I will also share tips on how to do like a shortcut in interpretation when you're really short on time. We'll talk about also, which is phenomenal, when you have some dreams under your belt, you have, a journal, maybe 2 journals, and you start seeing these larger cycles. These maybe symbols that kind of weave in and out over time and how they evolve can be really important to learn about our own spiritual evolution. So I hope you decide to join us on the rest of this journey. It's going to be similar to this. Accompanied with this introduction or workshop number 1 is a PDF with just some of the high points of what I covered here in the video today. You'll get a video like this that will go over those highlights. And then we will have a live Q&A/discussion together to review the concepts in that class. So I really look forward to meeting you and helping you evolve on your journey in dreams. I would be so honored and grateful. Take care.